Our oral history series continues. I'm Ray Mofield. WCBL Radio is presenting this along with the Marshall County Library, the State Archives in Frankfort, and the Oral History Division of Murray State University, the Pogue Library. Shelby McCallum is helping interview on this particular program, and our guest for this half hour is Mildred Hoover. Miss Hoover, it's a real joy to have you. Are you a person that would tell your age, or wouldn't you?
I don't mind at all. I'm thankful I've lived this long. 83.
83 years old. Now, were you born in Marshall County?
I was born in Callaway County, between Hardin and Kirksey.
Hardin and Kirksey, that's a good part of the county. Now, you're
Is that pretty close to Wadesboro?
That's near my farm.
The doctors were that we had looking away for old Dr. Gus Covington.
Gus Covington and his son Euclid, who practiced in Hardin for a while till 1934, as a matter of fact, and then moved to Murray. Lived there till he died.
Of course, my father and mother were raised in this county and close to where I lived after, but they moved back down here. But when my grandfather died, then at this place I was talking about, why, they sold out in Callaway County and came back down here to live.
A lot of those physicians, Dr. Covington, Dr. Caulfield, Dr. J.B. Starks, who later went to Kirksey, Caulfield moved to Benton, Dr. H.I. Hughes, were all in Hardin at one time.
Dr. Gus was and Dr. Starks at Kirksey was while we were there.
All right,
We were
now,
there 13 years.
could you tell us a little bit more about, say, both of your parents?
Well, my father was born right by back of on the Mildred store where was
Near Harvey.
right at Harvey.
Yeah, we'll ask you a little more about Harvey.
And then my mother, she was a Reed and was born down, just about 4 miles west of there.
You remember either side of the family grandparents?
Miss Milas Reed was the name of my mother, father, and then James Harding, you mean my grandparents.
Yeah. James Harvey Ivy. Now, is that where the name Harvey came from, to the town?
Yeah.
Where did you go to school then, Miss Hoover?
Well, the first school, of course, was in Callaway County, but we left there when I was 11 years old.
Did you go to Blakely by any means?
No, it's Jackson.
Jackson, okay. I went to Blakely, my first school, so
It's Jackson, over there close to Orange Chapel, this church.
And you lived there till
I
you
was
were
11 years old.
11 years old. And then you came where?
My daddy bought out his father's place, and we lived down in there, Harvey.
So you were in the heart of downtown Harvey. Was there a store there then?
Oh, yes. Well, now, my grandfather died in 1909 it was. And so his, this was his second wife, she rented the store out a while. But it was vacant when we moved there in 1911.
And then your father reopened it?
No, he never did run the grow.
Oh, he did not?
No, he farmed.
I see. What did you grow? You remember the farm life?
Oh, yes.
You have tobacco?
More than tobacco.
Everybody else had.
Just the regular farm life, you know.
Did you ever have to plow with a double shovel? Or?
No, I didn't, but he did.
That was man's work. Well, what did the girls do?
Well, my family?
Well, they worked all the time, I guess. Did you can food, pick blackberries? Or?
Yes, we did that. I just had one sister.
Did you ever get any chiggers?
Lots of them.
Still do that. And your sister married Forrest Cole, and they still live here in Benton, and she was a teacher in the school system for a long time.
32 years of it.
Yeah. Now, how did you meet your husband?
Oh, well, it was the year I graduated from high school here, and I was living at Bella Ely's, and Bella Ely was Mr. Hoover's niece. Lizzie and my mother-in-law were sisters. And so he was attending Church of Christ debate here at the courthouse. That was 1922. And so he came down to stay all night. And that's where I met him.
So you met him there. Love began to bloom.
Weren't you over to the Church of Christ, or were you already a Methodist?
No, I was Methodist.
I thought I had a suspicion that. Did you change over?
Yeah, after we married.
That's what I mean.
But now, we didn't marry right close then. That was in 22, and that I met him. But now, we didn't know together till we were both in Bowling Green at the same time.
Courtships then, we discussed this previously with others, were considerably longer than they are today.
Because say the first meeting was in 22, and we didn't marry till August 18th, 28.
That seems to be the trend.
It seemed, though, that when the courtship was longer, the marriages lasted longer.
Now, that's the point. I was afraid when you preempt me all the time. I tell you, the thing of it is, Dr. Faust used to talk about that. And he quoted Miss Layla, you remember that, of course. He had me drive all over Nashville once because when he was courting her, In the Shade of the Old Apple Tree was the number one song. And so we finally found a copy of it at some record shop in Nashville.
Well, when you married, then, what was his occupation?
He was working for a big wholesale, keeping books for a wholesale company there in Bowling Green. And they had 4 businesses, Nashville and 3 others. And, well, 2 others besides the one down in Bowling Green. But when the stock crash came in 29, well, they, the business went down so that they put all the 4 businesses together and moved it to put it all at Glasgow. So that caused him to lose his job. And we had to come back to Marshall County.
And that was happening to be Calvert City.
That was where he was raised.
He was raised in Calvert. Well, I was going to ask
Raised on the farm there.
now then, when did he start in the bank, or was there employment?
There was a period in there that he met in the bank May the 12th, 1937, right after the flood.
Yeah. And he and Mr. Bratton worked together then. They pretty well ran the bank, just the 2 of them for a year.
But they never did stay in the banking at all. When you had to do, they'd always make him come down to the store and talk.
Yeah.
They'd go up to the bank.
Well, how did Calvert City, what was your impression of Calvert City, moving into Calvert City in 1937 after having lived in more metropolitan area, would you call up Bowling Green or Glasgow?
See, I graduated at Bowling Green. Well, I graduated one day and married the next day.
Well, good.
But since you were used to Harvey, then Calvert wasn't all that different, was it?
Well, there wasn't any town, though.
Just store, mostly.
Store. But back in my time, my grandfather, but as I say, my father never did run that store. And but the building stood there until 1930. And that's when Clint Smith bought it.
Now that building is now in Benton, and it's at the corner of 12th and Poplar, and it's the Benton florist and the cleaning business.
Is that right?
So that's the old Harvey store. Isn't that
I
something?
want to ask a little bit more about Calvert City. What was your impressions?
Well, it was a very small place.
Did they have electricity there then?
No. Well, Solomon had a plant.
That's right.
Yes, Ray Solomon had a plant. And then later in years he sold out to the TVA, I reckon. I don't know who it was.
Jackson Purchase.
Yeah, Jackson Purchase.
They did they get their power from TVA?
I think they get their power from TV. They do now, they do.
Yeah. And, of course, Calvert didn't grow in at all till those plants began. Until after the dam was built, you know. The dam built up that part of the country down there.
Well, now, I know you still live in Calvert.
No, I live in Benton.
Oh, you do?
When my husband passed away in 65, my mother was an invalid here, so I was old enough then to retire. I was working at the bank too. I worked for about 20 years, but I retired and came up here and took my mother, kept her as long as she lived. That was only 2 years that she lived. But since I was raised in crochet and all, I just think I didn't like Calvert.
And some of your nephews were famous preachers around the area, weren't they?
Oh, you know, Kenneth was
Kenneth was here for a long time, and John's in Wakefield, and Jerry,
Of course, Jerry had to quit preaching, you know, his wife left him. And Jerry's in the...
Chambercomer.
No, you see...
The new hotel there.
Yes, in Executive Inn. He's the marketing manager out of it.
Yeah.
Now, your husband had a brother who was an agricultural agent in Mayfield, West
Still lives in Mayfield
County.
because he retired. So.
Wilson, is it?
He still lives there.
Yeah.
But he retired several years ago. And then he has a brother, Liam, that lived in Washington, D.C.
Now, you and your husband had no children,
He had any children.
but over the years, you were always engaged in a lot of activities that kept you in contact with young people. Did you teach for quite a while?
Well, I just taught a year and a half after I married. I taught at camp for a year and a half after we got down there. But then I quit and went to work in the bank. I taught 8 years before I married. I taught in Florida 1 year.
You said Calvert was, of course, fairly small at that time.
Yeah, it was about 400.
400 persons. Now it's on the way to 3,000, I guess.
And we stayed there 400 until after the dam.
Yes, I remember that. It didn't immediately
Oh, no.
boom like we thought it would.
By the plants coming in there is really what made it boom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved to Calvert, did you buy a home?
No, we didn't.
Do you remember what house rent was in those days?
$15.
$15 a month.
And you know, I used to be able to buy one. While I said that, he said, well, we can, and that's a nice house too, but we rented. He said, well, that's cheap enough, we'd keep up for him.
It might have been. Yeah.
So we just saved the money and I'm living on it now.
I know that you enjoy the Historical Society and
Oh, yes, I do.
a number of other things. Now, in this article which ran in the Tribune Courier a good while ago, back in 1980, I noticed a picture of a 1928 Chevrolet there. To whom did that belong?
Well, that's my husband. We had that when we married. Hadn't had it long. Well, we married in August and we bought it in May before August. It's one seat.
Yeah. We may want to get a copy of that
I never got that in my husband.
store it out along with this tape recording.
And after we married, we made our honeymoon journey. We came back and was there at home and he had it parked out there in front of that old store building.
Did you think he was a real sport as he drove up in that new Chevrolet?
So we lived in Bowling Green 2 years. Because he was already working there when we married. And then after we married, we lived there 2 years till a crash came.
Well, you came then to Calvert City. Was there a Church of Christ there at that time?
Robbie helped start that down there back in 1914. That was when the Church of Christ started there.
There was railway service through Calvert City.
I see railroad company through.
There were passenger trains going both directions every day.
Had 2 bus trains a day.
Did you ever go on the train
I
anywhere?
went to Louisville sometimes. I did Eastern Star.
Eastern Star. Now that's associated with Masonic Order. Yeah. So that means that your husband was a Mason. All right. Have you ever ridden an airplane?
Oh, yes, I made two trips abroad.
Yeah.
Where did you go overseas?
Well, in 1971, we first went to Spain, from Spain over to Africa, Tangier, and Morocco, up in there. And then we came back to, what's that in Spain, what's that name?
Barcelona?
Madrid, that's where we first landed. And then we went on over to London, England, and Switzerland, and Holland.
Switzerland, is that the most beautiful area you visited?
At that time. And then just 3 years ago, I went back, and we didn't go to Spain then, but just went direct to, we landed in Paris then, France, and went through 10 different countries.
Well, that is enjoying life.
Oh, yes.
And that's good. That's good.
Because I miss my husband, and I haven't forgotten yet, but I've used my time.
Yeah. And
I think it's pretty
a
good.
good.
And I enjoy traveling.
Yeah.
And he did too. We made, of course, he never go abroad, but during vacations, we made several trips. Yeah. I've been there State Union. I haven't been to Hawaii. Last guy, I don't care to go. I like historical points, and I said that Hawaii is just beaches and flowers and all that.
I've never been to Hawaii. I've been by there on ships, but I've never been landed there.
What foreign countries do y'all go to?
Now, don't make me do that. Now, I've been to so many. Look, the map's in my office, but it would take 30 minutes with the Ray.
Oh, yeah. Debbie's been more places than the sun rises now.
I've been to Europe about 18 times.
Oh, well.
I can't tell you
That's twice as much for me.
I like to go by ship.
Oh,
I think you'd like that, too.
no, I can't ride on water.
Okay.
The first time I rode on water was going from Detroit over to Niagara Falls, and there's a big boat.
Seasickness?
And seasickness, and it was crowded, and I had to sleep up on it. Took all night to go across, and so I had to sleep up there for berth, and a storm came up, and that thing just rocked. And I was sick all night. That's one reason I don't make a living trip.
Yeah.
I'm from the weather. I'm afraid of it, but it just makes me sick.
Now, one of your favorite activities here is working at Benton Hospital, is it not?
I keep busy. I could go this afternoon if I go, but I don't think I'm going.
How long have you been working there since almost?
I said my mother passed away,
Yeah.
and she passed away in 67. She only lived 2 years after I moved up
The
there.
hospital was 3 years old when you started.
For most of the time. I worked in 2 or 3 days a week.
Well, that's great.
When the president of auxiliary, I did treat 2 different times, and I do now.
Do you have any special stories you want our favorites with as we come into the last couple of minutes of our broadcast or taping here?
Oh, I guess not. I told all I've done.
I doubt that. Well, let me ask you one question, which we've been asking nearly everyone. You spent a long, fruitful life here in Marshall County. If you had to choose a place to live, would you again choose Marshall County as the place to spend a lifetime?
Yes. Here in the States, if I could go to abroad to live, I'd live in Switzerland.
Yeah. But here
I'll stay in Marshall County.
well, that's fine.
Kentucky, I guess you could say that's Marshall County, but I don't know, man. Of course, I was raised here. I think you still have it.
Well, I wasn't raised here, but I'll be back stay here if they let me.
But I couldn't go to any better place, I don't think.
Well, thank you very much, our guest, for this half hour of taping for the State Archive Project. Has been Miss Mildred Hoover in Benton, who told us about her life, starting in Callaway County, centering around Old Harvey and its formation, then her marriage and her life in Calvert City, and now back in Benton following the death of her husband. This program is presented by WCBL and furnishes tapes to the Marshall County Library, the State Archives in Frankfort, and the Murray State University Poe Oral History Library. Your interviewers today have been Shelby McCallum, and I'm Ray Mofield, and that's our program for today.